Team of the tournament time for the Rugby Championship, and I'm going to pick the best 3 players overall across the 6 rounds of matches, in my humble opinion. I would love to know yours in the comments down below. And with those top 3 players, and I'll reveal all at the end, I am starting my campaign for World Player of the Year right now. Yes, we have some big end-of-year tests still to come in the next couple of months. Cannot wait for those already. But I think there's a candidate that I want to get a bit of momentum behind. So watch this space for that. But as ever, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. My name is Tim. This is Egg Chasers. And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe on the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. Leave your comment, as I said. Tell me what you think, because there's bound to be debate over certain positions. I've picked shirts 1 to 15 from the Rugby Championship across the 4 teams. Who has been the standout player in that position? There's some that were really, really hard, and some that were so ridiculously easy. And I think that speaks, well, it perfectly illustrates the Rugby Championship this year. It's lived in the extremes. South Africa are comfortably the best team and deserved champions. Argentina have been amazing and live with them in flashes. Same goes for New Zealand. When fully loaded, you feel like South Africa are just a cut above and the others are chasing to try and keep up. And Australia, obviously improving, but poor. So teams can be really not very good or amazing. And it's lived in those extremes. And some of the positions, it follows like that. So yeah, tell me what you think. Team of the tournament, starting with the number 1 jersey. And this is one of those shirts where there is no debate whatsoever. And I reckon if you've got 100 rugby fans from 100 different countries around the world, they would all say the same name, Oxenche. Absolutely immense. I probably at least 2, maybe 3 rounds of matches. He's been a contender for player of the match. Just an absolute weapon. And the guy is 29, which is kind of prime age. He's coming into prime age for a prop forward. And he is one of the most valuable players on the planet right now, and one of the hardest to replace. If there's one country that would have the stocks to actually replace him, it would be South Africa with their stable of props. But even amongst that field, this guy stands out. Angus Bell, good to see him back and playing, and he was really good in round 4. I would highlight him. Other than that, I mean, that Tamaiti Williams looks like he's got a big future. Ethan de Groot coming back did all right, but I mean, none of them hold a candle to Oxenche. Cody Taylor. I think he's been absolutely superb at hooker in this tournament. Malcolm Marks, if there was a World Cup final next weekend and I had my pick of all the players, I would pick Malcolm Marks. He is the best player in that position, but he hasn't played every game. He hasn't started every game. He's looked great in the loose. Some of the set piece has gone awry. Cody Taylor, I think, has been a standout in what has been a stuttering New Zealand team. When they've looked good, he's been at the absolute heart of it. And when they've been struggling, he's been one of the few players that has stood up. Tight head prop, back to South Africa, Frans Malherbe. He started 4 out of the 6 games, all of the victories. He did not play when they lost. And I don't think that is just a case of correlation equals causation. I think when you take away one of the most destructive scrummagers in the world, and that we have ever seen, yes, it makes it a whole lot easier to beat that team. Tyrell Lomax has been great, and he would be second in the pecking order in this, but 2 props for South Africa so far as we move into the second row. And I've gone for Mr. 128 himself, Eben Etzebeth, the most capped Bok of all times. He was involved in all 6 matches in the Rugby Championship. And now you understand why, because Rassie brilliantly did his maths and worked out if he plays in every game, we could have a big old celebration whilst potentially lifting the Rugby Championship in the Mbombela Stadium in Nelspruit. And so it turned out yesterday. He's been absolutely massive. And it's quite interesting. Have a look at the stats here, okay? So even when he was on the bench, the 2nd Australia test and the 1st New Zealand test, he still played basically 60 minutes in each of those games, came off the bench in the first half. The only match in which Eben Etzebeth played less than half a game is the one match they lost to Argentina. Again, correlation, causation? Maybe not. Ruan Norkia has been absolutely brilliant as well. Standout player, but I have gone as the lock partner, Tupu Vai for New Zealand. 24 years young. He carries hard. He's a good line-out forward. He can absolutely bang people, and he is filled the void of Retallick and Whitelock. He's not at their level yet, but he's on the way, and he's a really promising player. Like him and Ruan Norkia have been two breakout players in this Rugby Championship, and it could have gone to either one of them. I've just edged for Tupuvi. Tell me if you strongly disagree. Into the back row then, and Sia Khaleesi is wearing the number 6 jersey. Pablo Matera has been really good. He was excellent in round 1. Red card yesterday, obviously, not so great off the bench. And there's been lots of players that have had moments. Rob Valentini for Australia deserves a mention, because not many Australians have been mentioned so far. For New Zealand, well, I'll come on to New Zealand in just a minute. But Sia Khaleesi, in big matches, he has big games. Round 4 against New Zealand, he was absolutely huge. And yeah, it's noticeable that he used to go off after 45 minutes. He's going off now more like 55, 60 minutes, sometimes even later than that, because his influence has actually grown since the World Cup, I would say. He's playing brilliant rugby. And I've kept him at number 6 because at number 7 is Pieter-Steph du Toit. And I know South Africa are the only country that do the 6 and 7 blindside, open side the way they do. So, but they're both South Africans, so I'm not gonna mess with it, because Pieter-Steph du Toit, the man is a machine. In round 3, do you remember that game? That was the one. Was that the one away in Australia? Oh no, that was round 2. What was the game? Was it the first game against New Zealand, wasn't it? I was there. I was there in the stadium in Johannesburg. And he started with the number 4 on his back. He also played the number 5 position and played the number 7 position, all in the same game. And the guy is just an absolute warrior. He would be one of the first names, if not the first name on a team sheet, if you could pick any player in the world. What a player. We are living... I say this about Antoine Dupont. I say this about other players. I feel privileged to be alive when this guy is playing rugby, because he is that good, and he will go down as one of the absolute greats that people talk about in generations to come. So to complete the back row, I've gone for Wallace Satiti, and that is given that he only played 3 matches in the Rugby Championship. He was playing NPC in round 2. He was only used for 17 minutes off the bench in round 1, and then he was taken out of the match day 23. I wonder, when you look back at the influence he's had in the last 3 matches, I wonder whether Razor looks back at those opening 2 rounds, firstly not using him and then dumping him out of the match day squad. And maybe he has some regrets, because the influence that this guy has had on the New Zealand team in the last 3 games has been massive, enough that he puts Ardie Savia in his shadow on this Rugby Championship alone. And in these last 3 matches, he has been huge. I do want to mention Oviedo of Argentina. The guy looks an absolute baller. Visa, Lowe have been good for South Africa when they've been there. But for me, I know he played on the flank for New Zealand. I get Satiti in at 8. And that completes the pack with 5 South Africans and 3 New Zealanders. Your thoughts in the comments down below as I move into the back line and to Cortez Ratimer. And this is one of those positions where, in fact, 9 and 10, I don't know. Who'd you pick? It's really hard, because actually, oddly, especially when I always think about Southern Hemisphere teams, I think about 9 and 10 being brilliant. They've not been great. Part of that is because teams have been experimenting, chopping and changing a little bit. New Zealand have certainly been doing that. Joe Schmidt at Australia has been doing that. And South Africa have been doing that as well. And Argentina's 9s just aren't great. I think Cortez Ratimer has been the pick of the 9s. It might have been Grant Williams had he played all 6 games, not got injured, etc. He looked really good in that first game against New Zealand. But Cortez Ratimer's had a big impact, softened the blow of New Zealand losing Smith and having an injured Roygaard. And he actually made TJ Perenara look a little bit slow. Perenara's been a legend, but the impact, like you saw it in the game yesterday, the speed, when he comes off the bench and Perenara had been playing, it just looked like night and day. So I think they've got a player in Cortez Ratimer, along with Roygaard, they can take it on. But overall, scrum half position, I'd say it's one of those positions where it's been relatively poor through the Rugby Championship. And I'd probably say the same for fly half. I've gone with Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu. Sasha FM, my favourite radio station. Maybe that's a bit harsh to say the 10s have been poor overall. When you think about it, Pollard has started, Libbok has started, and Sasha FM has started. Second favourite radio station, by the way, Lucano AM. But Sasha FM, they've all played a lot of rugby, and as a result, and they've all played really well. Libbok yesterday was out of this world good. Pollard's been brilliant. Sasha, early in the tournament, was amazing. So maybe it's a bit harsh to say the stock has been poor. It's just there's been, again, chopping and changing going on. Australia seem to have settled on Lolosio. I don't think he's too great. Albanese looks promising from the last few games. DMAC was really great in patches. Bodie the same. No one's really stood out. Sasha, early in the tournament, he did. So I've gone with him. 11, Caleb Clark, back to New Zealand. Just bouncing back and forth between New Zealand and South Africa at the minute, eh? Yes, Caleb Clark, 6 tries in the tournament. And you noticed it when he wasn't there. Yeah, he's had a big tournament. It could have been Mateo Carreras, who I thought was the best player wearing 11 in weeks 4 and 5 of the tournament. Caleb Clark, though, massive in round 3, really big yesterday. 6 tries, and he missed the losses to Argentina and South Africa. And so 6 tries in 4 games, missing the losses, 2 of those losses, and you kind of get a sense at where the difference he makes to this New Zealand backline. It's good to see Will Jordan back as well, playing well. I'll come to right wing and full back in just a minute. But let's get into the centres then. And I had to go with Damian de Allende. Here's a fact for you. I mean, the consistency of this guy is incredible. Again, the game that South Africa lost, he wasn't involved in. He didn't play away in Argentina. And check this for a stat out. The only international matches that Damian de Allende has lost in the last year are against Ireland. 1 in the World Cup and 1 in July. That says a lot, because I was talking yesterday on the video about the brutality of the South African pack and the beauty and speed of their backline. This guy is the glue that links the two together. He's a focal point that holds defences in and allows space for guys like Fassi and Colby and Arendse and all the rest of it. He keeps defences honest. He punches holes when the ball isn't great and when the pack aren't doing their job. But he is. I wouldn't mind betting if I was in Rassie Erasmus's head, this would be the first name on his team sheet. Maybe even above Oxenchain. Maybe even above Pieter-Steph du Toit. I think he's that important for them. Santiago Chocobares has been brilliant in this tournament and definitely deserves a mention. But the fact that Ireland are the only international team to have beaten a box side with this guy in the team speaks volumes, because Ireland are maybe the only team in the world who have a player who can match and occasionally, not always, but occasionally outdo Damian de Allende in Bundy Aki. And it needs someone of the quality of Bundy Aki playing at the very top of his game to help shut down what the Boks are able to do. That says everything about this guy. So I've got him at number 12. Jesse Creel has been brilliant at 13. Played in every game. Lucio Cinti has been fantastic for Argentina, particularly in rounds 4 and 5. I've actually gone for Chocobares in the 13 jersey. I know he played 12 throughout the whole tournament. But Jesse Creel's been brilliant. Chocobares has been brilliant. De Allende has been brilliant. They're the best 3 centres for me. And I just felt that Argentina's back play deserves some recognition. Bearing in mind their forwards are not anywhere near the level of South Africa's, and they struggle to keep up with New Zealand at times as well. Again, that 12 position, so important for a team. And I think Chocobares is the reason why Argentina have been able to play the way that they've played. And the really great stuff we've seen from them, he's been just a massive part of it. So I wanted to reflect Argentina's contribution to this Rugby Championship. And Chocobares has been massive. And he's the first Los Pumas player to make my team of the tournament, even nudging out Jesse Creel, who I have to say has been brilliant as well. Onto the right wing. I mean, this is one of those. Should we just move on? It's Cheslin Colby, isn't it? I mean, ankle-breaking sidesteps. There was a comment, actually, it made me laugh. Comment in the video yesterday, and thank you for the comments. I get through and I interact with as many as I can when I have time. In fact, I forget who it was that left the comment. You know who you are, so thank you for it. They said that there should be a new stat in rugby purely for Cheslin Colby. Instead of just defenders beaten, it should be defenders badly beaten. He can make people look silly. His sidesteps are just ridiculous. Little man, massive heart and huge talent. And yeah, easily the best right winger in the tournament. Best winger full stop in the tournament. And to round off the team, At 15, I've gone for Juan Cruz Malia. Again, just like Chocobares, massive part of the reason why Argentina have given us some brilliant memories and have had chalked up some really impressive wins. He started every match in rounds 1 to 5. And even in the losses that Argentina had, he was a massive positive, a key cog in terms of their attacking play. And bearing in mind that 15's been another position where there have been chopping and changing for South Africa, I think Malia stands out. I would also mention Tom Wright, I think, has been excellent for Australia. One of the few bright spots for them. So that is, if I get myself out of the way, that is my team of the tournament. What do you think of that? Let me know. 2 Argentines, 5 All Blacks, and 8 South Africans. I do think now I look at that Jesse Creel's probably the hardest done by. But I wanted to reflect the good work that Argentina have done. So hey, look, it'd be boring if we all thought the same. Let me know what you reckon. And I will go through my top 3 players of the tournament overall. Cheslin Colby at number 3. What a player. And as I said, I am going to start my campaign for World Player of the Year, which will be dished out in after the November tests, right? Usually gets done then. So number 2, best player of the Rugby Championship, Pieter-Steph du Toit. With him there like that, it's like he's just looking over my sofa. That'd be terrifying, looking over your shoulder and seeing him. Even a smile, he'd make you jump out your seat. Terrifying specimen on a rugby field. Seems like a lovely bloke from the little that I've heard him talk and seen him. I'd love to sit down and interview him someday. I'd love to shake those giant, ridiculously massive hands. Anyway, number 2, best player in the second best player in the tournament for me. Incredible. What a warrior. What a machine. Chuck any word you want at him. He deserves all of them. However, for me, the best player of the Rugby Championship overall, ousting those 2 South Africans, Cheslin Colby and Pieter-Steph du Toit, is another South African, and it is Retshe. Hold on a minute. I'm going to do this. Retshego Faditswe Unche. I can understand why he just goes, just call me Ox. Thank you, Ox. Absolutely immense. And this guy should be World Player of the Year, in my humble opinion. If he plays anything like he has played in 2024 in those November tests, there is no one. And well, Pieter-Steph du Toit and Cheslin Colby would be the closest to him. But other than that, peerless. And here's a stat. There has never, ever, ever been a prop that has won World Player of the Year. Never happened. A hooker has won it once, and that was Keith Wood in the very first year of it in 2001. And it's really easy to give World Player of the Year to ball-playing number 8s like Ardie Savia last year. Don't get me wrong, Ardie Savia deserved it last year. It's easy to give it to 10s and 9s. There's been loads of fly halves and fullbacks and wingers and stuff, and scrum halves. It's never given to props. And if I love the scrum, and we've seen the laws trying to depower it. We've seen efforts to try and mitigate the strength of a scrum. If ever there was a time to just celebrate what the scrum is, what it means, the fact it makes rugby a sport for all shapes and sizes, and the fact that there has been one player who has dominated at the Rugby World Cup, even off the bench, and now in a starting role, just destroyed, obliterated, nuked the opposition, it is this guy. And so I'm starting my campaign. If he has good games in the November tests, World Player of the Year, the first ever prop to be so, Oxenche. Got to happen. Come on. Do you disagree? If Pieter-Steph du Toit gets it, I'd be very happy with that as well, because he deserves it also. But there you go. There's my team of the tournament for the Rugby Championship. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your the comments. I appreciate the thumbs up. I appreciate you subscribing. And I will see you on the next video.